Freaking fingerprints! Uh-oh. This had orange clean solution on it. Hey, what's up everyone? Danny here. Welcome to the next PC build for the channel, which is also going to be the most expensive system I've showcased to date. It's also going to be my very first Ryzen build ever, so I'm really excited to share it with you all. I built this system for a friend of mine that approached me asking if I can build him something higher end that would be able to game, stream, and edit videos with no problems. He had a little bit more to spend than I usually do on my channel in terms of like build price because this is going to be his very first computer, so he wanted to kind of go all out and have something that would last him a while. And while I know this is going to be more expensive and kind of out of reach for a lot of the viewers, I also wanted to showcase it because I want to show you what deal hunting is like when you shop for higher end parts. A lot of stuff I do is low or mid tier, and that's where you get a lot of big percentage savings in terms of like discounts. But when you go to the really high tiers, you're going to see that diminish very quickly. That's just the price you have to pay when you want the latest and greatest stuff. So I'm going to stop talking now and we can get right into the build. So first let's go over all the parts I used in the build. I'm going to go over why I bought what I did, where I got it, and how much it cost. All prices will include taxes, shipping, and mail-in rebates. So let's get started. The processor I chose for the system was the AMD Ryzen 7 1700X. With the budget, it was either i7 or Ryzen 7, and price to performance pointed at AMD. The general advice given within the Ryzen 7 lineup is that the 1700 has the best value. The reason I ended up with the 1700X is because I was able to find it cheaper than any 1700 I've seen, new or used. I got this on Craigslist for $250 new in box. The person that sold it to me bought it bundled with an RX 580 during the peak of the cryptocurrency GPU shortage, so he just wanted the graphics card and didn't need the CPU at all, so he offloaded it. This doesn't come with a cooler though, so I chose the CarRig H7 to pair with it. In my opinion, this is one of the best looking coolers in the price range, but personal opinions and aesthetics aside, this is one of the best performing coolers in terms of temperatures and acoustics for well under 50 bucks. And this one comes in at an MSRP of $35. I got it on the smallest sale ever at Newegg for $32.49. For the motherboard, I went with the MSI B350 Gaming Plus from Newegg. This is a mid-range B350 board, but it will be capable of moderate overclocking and is typically priced at $100, but the sale brought it down to $84.99, followed by a $10 mail-in rebate bringing it down to $74.99. Given the price range that we're looking at and the intended use of the system, it didn't make sense to spend more on a higher tier board. That will usually entail spending more in other areas to make full use of it. For the graphics card, I went with the EVGA GTX 1080 for the Win Edition. I got this for $450 on Craigslist, and it was featured in my most recent Craigslist ride-along video. Originally, I was looking for a GTX 1070 for the system for around $300 to $350, but mining basically caused all of them to go well above $400, even in the used and refurbished market from what I could find. Some of them were at $400, but even at that price, I didn't think it was worth it. But the GTX 1080 wasn't as affected by the mining situation, so I figured it'd be worth it to spend the extra $50 and bump up to the next tier. For RAM, I went with a kit of brand new 16GB DDR4 G-Skill Ripjaws at 3000 MHz. I initially looked for used kits both locally and online to try to save money, but the used market is pretty dry and I had no luck, so I had to go with brand new. This kit was on sale at Newegg for $124.99, which isn't the best price and definitely more than I wanted to pay, but a small sale is better than nothing when typical prices are ridiculous and looks like this, which is what I pulled up just the other day. For the power supply, I went with the fully modular Seasonic M12-2 620W Evo Edition 80 Plus bronze unit. I actually considered using one of the $20 600W EVGA B-Stock units for the system, which I'm sure would have worked perfectly fine, but because this is going to my friend who's not as experienced with computers, I decided it'd be best to go with a brand new unit for the reliability and warranty, which for this one is 5 years. This normally costs $59.99 on Newegg, but a $20 mail-in rebate brought it down to $39.99, which isn't bad considering the wattage, efficiency rating, full modularity, and it's a Seasonic, one that gets the thumbs up from a lot of reputable reviewers that actually have the professional equipment to thoroughly test it. For storage, I went with the 128GB Transcend SSD for the boot drive, and for the larger storage drive, I went with a 2TB 7200 RPM Hitachi Ultrastar. This is where the larger programs, games, and media files will be stored. The SSD was bought used on Reddit Hardware Swap for $30, and the hard drive was bought from Refurb for Less on eBay for $29.99. Contrary to the seller's name though, this is not a refurbished hard drive. It was a data center pull, which means that it comes with a high amount of hours, but there's no issues with it and it has a clean smart diagnostic. And last but not least, the case, which is the Corsair Crystal Series 570X. And I just want to say this right now that it was not my decision. My friend impulsively bought this months before he had all his money together for the entire build, and he paid a whopping $180 for this brand new from the Corsair website. He just bought it and then told me after the fact. And while I admit that this case does look nice, it costs way too much for what it offers and the budget that we're working with, in my opinion anyways. So in all, this build came out to just a hair over $1,200. This was a bit expensive in my opinion for what we got, but I worked with the situation I was given in terms of the pre-bought case and the cryptocurrency situation that's still plaguing the GPU market. In an ideal world, I would have found a GTX 1070 for $350 or less and used a case that was about $100 cheaper. There are plenty of great cases for less than 80 bucks. Those two things were about to build down to $1,000, but this is what we ended up with, even after finding deals and sales on the majority of the rest of the parts. Now for the build process. Building in the 570X was terrible considering the price. The first thing I didn't like was the power supply shroud. I don't get why they designed it how they did. They should have extended it fully or just covered it at the end. They did neither though, so now you have a big hole that people can just see the power supply cables through when they're looking in. The next issue is that the shroud blocks off the best path to the front panel headers. I've seen other cases put discrete slots or grommeted cutouts when they do have a shroud, just to give you a good path, but this doesn't do that. So I had to remove the motherboard after I installed it when I realized that going behind the motherboard is the only clean way to execute it. But even that isn't ideal because you might pinch the cable under one of the spiky solder points. My last complaint is that there is a cable raceway on the back, which is a good idea, but the execution was bad because it's just way too small. You put a couple of PCIe connectors in there and the 24 pin and you're done. There's no more room for anything else. This case is just not worth the money, but at the end of the day, as annoying as the case was to work with and as expensive as it was, I got through it and it does look nice. For overclocking the 1700X, I went as high as I could while keeping the system stable and while keeping the voltage at 1.4 volts or less, and that got me to 3.8 GHz. I set the RAM to 2800 MHz with the built-in AMP settings. There was a 2933 MHz profile and I could have just manually set it even higher, but anything higher than 2800 wouldn't boot, and increasing the voltage and manually setting the timing still proved unstable. I updated the motherboard with the latest BIOS, which has the latest AGISA 1.0.0.6 protocol, which should have fixed the memory overclocking issues that Ryzen was initially having on release, but still no luck, so 2800 MHz is where we landed. For the GPU, I upped the core clock by 100 MHz and the memory clock by 500 MHz. So now for the benchmarks. Everything was run in 1440p at either max or near max settings. Though I did throw in one run of Firestrike Ultra, which is the 4K performance benchmark, and I did that so that you can have a baseline number in case you want to compare this system to a system that you saw in like a different video or a different channel or something like that. But I didn't run everything in 4K though because I don't consider the GTX 1080 to be a 4K card. It might be able to handle the lighter titles fine, but I would want to see the average FPS performance in the heavier titles a little bit better before I would consider it a 4K card. So that's why I kept it off at 1440p and that's what I would recommend this system for. But yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy the benchmarks. So those are the results of the benchmarks. If you have a higher refresh rate monitor and you wanted to push the FPS, above 100 or even well beyond that, you can easily achieve that in any of the titles tested, as well as almost every title out there. Of course, there's going to be exceptions, but you could get that by tuning the settings a bit. Just don't run at max and turn down the things that don't matter as much. I personally wanted to run this system at max settings to show you the worst possible performance at this resolution. And as you can see from the results, the worst possible performance for 1440p is actually really good. Everything was at least 60 FPS on average. And you can easily push well beyond that just by taking down things like you can turn down like textures, shadows, and like shader detail. Those don't need to be maxed out. You can lower them to like very high or even high and it'll still look really good. So you just gotta be realistic with your expectations because this is a $1,200 system. You can't have, high refresh rate or high FPS rather, with higher resolution than standard with max settings. You just gotta pick and choose what you want. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. So if you guys enjoyed it or found it helpful at all, please be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like it. Let me know down in the comment section below what you thought of the build overall. What did you like about it? What didn't you like? What would you have changed? And also, let me know what you thought about that Corsair 570X case. Was I too harsh when I bashed it, or was I justified because it cost way too much? I'm really curious what you have to say. But yeah, I just want to thank you all as always for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I look forward to reading all your comments down below in the comment section, as well as seeing you in the next video. Bye.